No. Nothing here, honey.
Okay, Mom's got a Verner's and a baby Ruth. And of course, Cooper and Okoe will not give her a break because they want
You don't want
her
this.
constant attention.
You don't want this.
Yeah, I don't remember what we just left off talking about. What the heck was it? I think it was about the houses, and you were going to talk about how you used to ride your bike over. Then you kind of got distracted. So.
I told you about Annalise saying you can't come and I.
Right, yeah, you did. Yeah.
That wasn't.
Well, so you used to ride your bike from where you were over in East Main all the way over to Duke Street.
I just did it that one day.
Oh, I thought it was a regular thing, just for a day. So how'd you wipe out and knock yourself out on the hill then?
Well, there was one man that was a conductor on the train. And I didn't tell you about the sand pile either.
Nope.
So, from when I was younger. So the I got a bicycle for Christmas one year. I got a bike, and no, not a bicycle, a scooter, a balloon-tired scooter, and it had a kickstand on the back, so you could stand it up. But it also, the brakes were a curved piece of metal like this, and if you wanted to stop or slow down, you just put your foot on that. So, poorly designed. I was riding my bike in the spring, and
not your bike, your scooter.
On my scooter, and there was a man we called the picture man. He had a camera, and he used to go up the hill. He worked on the train. He was, I think, a conductor or something to do with the passenger trains, and lived at the top of East Main Hill. And he'd walk past our house, and we got to know him, and he took pictures of the kids as we were out playing and by the school and so on. And this one day, he's coming up the hill, and I had just been at the top of the hill and was coasting down, and so I wanted to slow down, and I put my foot back, and I put my foot on what I thought was that little curly brake, and instead it was this kickstand, and I kept pushing it, and it didn't slow down, and I didn't want to run into the man, so I moved to the side, and then I ran into about a 3-foot diameter tree, knocked me out, and he picked me up. I wasn't out for very long, but he picked me up and took me home because he knew where I lived, because he had given the pictures he used to give the pictures to the parents. He'd print them and then he'd give them, because not everybody had a camera. So, anyhow, that was a major experience on East Main Street. But another one on East Main Street that I will not ever forget is I went to the top of the hill. Somebody gave me a nickel, and I bought material. I went to there was a store, Dorns, I think they called it, at the top of the hill, and it had dry goods and other just general merchandise in there, but lots of material. And I bought, I think, a half a yard of material for a nickel. And then I went next door. I think I had a dime, and I had another nickel to spend. I wanted to get ice cream or something. And I walked into the store, and I see this picture, and now I can't remember which way it went. I think it was a skull and crossbones. And it said, "All is vanity" underneath it. And it was a scary picture, and I kept going closer to it because I was very taken into that. And when I got up to the picture, instead of the skull and crossbones, it was a beautiful woman sitting at a dressing table with a huge mirror and all kinds of perfume and that kind of bottles in front of her. And then you walk away from it and look at it from way back, and it's the skeleton again. It's this skull and crossbones. And I found out later that that man did a lot of pictures like that that looked like one thing, and I don't know his name, and I have to look him up and find it because I want to get that picture.
Yeah, I'll Google. Maybe I can find it for
That
you.
was something that just, you know.
Yeah. So, I know. I think we were talking about Interlaken and the cottage and how you guys got connected there. So the
Okay.
Uncle
Well,
Carl had actually got the connection first, and had been going there first,
well,
and then mentioned the grandpa. Remember, there's
I
some
have
guy
to-
in a bar and all
mention
this.
Uncle Carl, I have to say this. He actually was the one who he worked as a plasterer, which is a hard job, and you need a lot of strength for that. And he did the ceiling in the State Theater in Kalamazoo, which is still,
Still there today.
yeah, and
Going to be almost 100 years ago.
yeah. And he liked to go fishing. And he also was German. And so he liked to have a beer when he was done working. So every night on his way home, he would stop at a place called the Handel Bar. And I don't know if that's still in business or
I
not.
don't know. It's a great name though.
I know. And he would talk about his fishing, bragging about where he went and how many big fish he caught, and showed pictures and stuff. And the bartender said, "Oh, my dad has a cottage up in Interlaken, and it's on Duck Lake.
And Interlaken is a German word, anyways,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, between the lakes.
It's on Duck Lake." He says, "Yeah, have you ever been there?" And my uncle says, "No." And he says, "Well, he rents it out in the summer for a week or two at a time, and this is how much it is and everything." And my uncle said, "Oh, I'll do it." So he went up there, and he loved it, and went fishing. And then when he came home, he never took his wife before that. He says, "You have to go with me, because you will love walking around in the woods up there, and coming down to the lake and so on." And so she went. And when she came home, she said to my mother, "Oh, you guys have to go up there." So we went up there, and we loved it.
And all this time, you guys are all running the same cottage,
All running the cottage,
which we
at
end up
different-
owning now, which
at-
you now own.
Yeah, at different times.
And the one that we went to as kids, the only cottage we knew growing up.
No, but the cabin.
The cabin is
Call
this.
that the cabin.
Right.
Okay,
That
so.
was, yeah.
But I remember when we went there, the trees were not very big on either side.
Yeah, the woods had to look different
There were
for you and your
there
kid.
were bigger woods out, but along the road, you know, the what do I want to call, the ones that just spring up voluntarily there. But it was just a one track road, you know.
Yeah.
And there was an old man named, oh dear, Andy. I wish I could think of it, maybe somebody else.
We'll think of it later. Go ahead.
Anyway, and he was driving a Model T car, an old truck or whatever, and he was ahead of us, and it was sand in the road. But you could reach out as kids. We would put our hands out the window, and you could pick leaves off the trees as you're going through on both sides. So that's how close the road was, you know, to the trees and the narrowness of the road. So anyway, then we loved it. Then Tekla came back and she said to my mom, it's just like Germany, you gotta go. So when we went, my mother agreed and she just loved it. And then one day, Uncle Carl said, oh, I went into the bar tonight and the young man told me that his dad is selling the cabin. And he asked my uncle, he asked my uncle if he wanted it, because he was the one who had used it the most and he knew how much he loved it. So my uncle thought about it, but he didn't save much money and he didn't have much money. But he did like to go to the bars and stuff, which my dad never did. My dad, with his paychecks, even during the war, when we were at war with Germany, the first thing he bought out of his paycheck was a United States savings bond for the government, for, what do you call it?
War effort?
War effort, whatever, for this side, even though we were in Germany, fighting Germany. And he still had money to put aside, because my mother was very, what do I want to say, frugal, never bought any clothes. I made all her clothes just about that she had. And so Uncle Carl said he didn't think he could buy it. And so he told that to his wife, and his wife told her sister, my mom. And my mother said to my dad, I never asked for anything, which she never did. But she said, I want this cottage. So he bought it.
Man, I think if he didn't, or what if Uncle Carl had bought it, we'd never gone up there.
No, Uncle Carl was the one who found it.
But I'm saying, you think of all the generations now, so Grampy,
And
then you guys, and then all of us kids, and Amy and Scott and Brian and everybody went up there. And,
yeah.
And now Barb's kids.
Yep.
And now Barb's, Benny and Chloe will be bringing little guys up there, and Erica, and, soon Ashley's going to have, by the way, Ashley's expecting a little baby girl, Aurora, she's going to name her. She won't be here until, we think, February sometime.
Mm-hmm.
So Aurora, if you're watching this video sometime in the future, you weren't even born, but we have seen pictures of you. Great-grandma saw pictures of you on an ultrasound post. Yeah. We've seen that.
Yeah, right.
And how many great-grandkids do you have right now? We got 4, is it? Mm-hmm. Benny's got 2. Erica has just one, Leo. And then number 4 is coming. So you've got 3, number 4 is coming. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. So, all right.
But here's the coincidence. I didn't realize this until I went to college. The kid that sat next to me in one of my classes was the son of the man who sold the cottage.
Really? Do you remember their name by any chance?
Yeah. I don't know his name. Well, it's on the papers.
Yeah, that's where you'd have to see it, right.
But Bierce.
Okay.
Bierce. He was a piano tuner at Interlaken. The father was.
So, going back to your trips up there, so you guys went up there finally then, when you were 5th, 6th grade, something like that maybe?
Yeah, well, we just started going there. I don't remember.
What did you guys do up there? Did you guys go, like, when we go up there now, we go out and drive over to the lake shore and do all these things?
We didn't do a lot of that.
You guys just pretty much stayed at the cabin?
Some of that, but we stayed at the cabin. Actually, I did a lot of babysitting.
For whom? Oh, for Aunt Sandy?
My mother loved to swim.
So.
She loved it. And she didn't have anything in life that she really enjoyed. She didn't go to movies. She didn't go anywhere. She didn't spend any money, and she usually go down there. And so I would stay with Sandy and then bring her down when she woke up from her naps or something and take her down to the water, and then my mom would take her But
What's the age difference between you and Aunt Sandy? 15 years?
Well,
I don't know what year she was born, but
44, I think. Would that make it? How old would that be?
I don't know.
I can't. Yeah, that would be 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who was up there back then? I mean, was Dorothy up there at that time, or no? You don't remember?
Oh, Dorothy?
Yeah.
And
Fennell?
she was there.
And Freddie Fennell?
Yep, Freddie and Dorothy. They were all there at the beginning. The ones that had our cottage.
Chuck and Betty? Mr. Malecki was there?
Yep.
Mr. Zimmerman, probably. Oscar?
Oscar was there, and also
His first wife.
Bob and his
Bob
wife.
and Booze.
Bob and Boo were there.
His kids?
No, they were. Well.
Isn't that
Yeah,
Oscar's?
as kids, yeah, you
Yeah,
talk
it's
about.
Oscar's kids.
Yeah, right.
Right, but their mom, because then Oscar remarried after his first wife passed away.
Yeah.
I remember both of his wives.
Yeah.
They were both super nice ladies.
Mhm.
And then was Mr. Luchtenberg there, or not? Was he
I
the?
think he was there since the beginning.
Wow, so those people are all
Almost all of them.
were old.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And
The
Mr.
Leadhams?
Fairmont was one of the nicest ones. And he's Polly's dad.
Okay.
And
So that's Josita's grandpa.
grandfather.
Yeah. So
And Barb Cedar was there with her boyfriend. Can't think of his name right now, but it'll come back to me. But their family didn't like him for some reason, but he was a foreigner, you know. So.
is Barb Cedar, Mrs. Cedar, that's their mom? The Mrs. Cedar that I knew, who you used to always swim with, and was
is Joe's mom.
Joe's mom. Yeah, I remember her. Super well, yeah, because she would always be out there swimming.
Oh yeah.
With you two would be out there till all hours of the night swimming.
And then Capperts, of course.
Right.
Capperts moved into. I can't think of who had that.
But that cottage was there when you were growing up, even.
Yeah.
You remember that being there? Okay.
That
So the colony looks pretty much the same, with the exception of a few places.
of the older.
Herb's obviously was new,
Herb moved in.
and then McCluskey, Dennis put his in
Yeah.
down the road from Barb. I remember when that went in the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
late 80s.
And then now the monster is in, which is too bad that they. You would think that since her dad was one of the original founders, she'd want to keep it more like it used to be. But
It's all about the money. Okay, so you went to Cincinnati and met the Bernhardt boys. Did you already know them before you went there? Tell us about we've heard you talk about the Bernhardt boys forever. So how did you get to know them? Was it through their parents and your parents, or what? Or what took you guys down to Cincinnati to meet them and all that?
I'm trying to think of well, this happened before we went to Interlaken. Liesel Bernhardt, the mother of the boys, was a classmate of Gragra in Germany.
Oh, okay.
And her sister, what is her name? Walter's mother. Can't think of her name, but she was, maybe she was a sister too. I don't know. I think these two girls were sisters, just like Gragra and Tekla were sisters.
Yeah.
And they ended up in Cincinnati, Ohio, somehow. The one married, and that's the Bernhardt boys' dad. I don't know his one. It's not Carl.
I'm just trying to see how the connection, like how did that family ever know you guys?
Because Gragra.
You're all German.
Gragra and.
We're classmates.
We're classmates.
And they kept touch somehow. They knew they were both in America.
I don't know when and where and how. Maybe Liesel wrote a letter, Christmas card or something.
Okay.
You know, and then and Donkey Tekla, that's the Fry girl's mom,
Mm-hmm.
was more likely to write. She was writing letters to everybody, but Rockroy didn't write letters to very many people. So anyhow, somehow they, I don't know if Tekla told them that no, because this was before that, before we went to Interlochen, I think. Because I was only about 8 years old. We didn't buy it that early.
But you were going there that early.
I don't know if I was.
Okay.
I can't remember. Anyhow, with the Bernhardt boys, and we went down to Cincinnati, Ohio to see Liesl Bernhardt. And I don't know if they must have come to Kalamazoo somehow first, I think. And we met them, and then we went down, but I know I was just a little kid, and I don't know if we even had Paul already, but Huey was born. And I just remember going to Cincinnati, and they let us go to the store to get an ice cream cone. From where we went to visit them, they said, okay, you kids can walk down to so-and-so and get ice cream. So we did.
Common thread, ice cream throughout your life. Ice cream, even to your dying days, ice cream.
Well, but the thing is, we're walking along, and Walter is walking with me. And Huey is walking with his sister Mary. And they're behind us a little bit. And I must have been a little older than 8 or 9. I don't know. I was about that age. And Walter said to me, don't say anything. Let those guys let's get ahead of those guys. We got a little ahead of them. And then he said to me, ILOVEU. Oh my God, that was something. So we just looked back, and they were fine. They were walking along, and they were having a good time. I just remember that. So we get to the ice cream store, and asked what kind of ice cream we wanted, and I said, chocolate. And so then for a long time, that's all I ever got was chocolate. And then I tried a few times on getting another kind, and I thought, no, that darn chocolate is the best thing, and I just never got anything different. So that kind of took over.
And you guys stayed in touch with the Bernhardt boys throughout.
Then the Bernhardts came up to Kalamazoo when I was about 14, because I was doing the cooking. I know that, and Tony Liesl praised me for being such a good cook. And Carl and Ernie and I and the Fries, we all kind of walked together and did stuff. And no big deal going on or anything. But then
What's making noise?
both of the boys.
I heard a noise.
Huh?
What's making a crinkly noise? You got a candy bar stashed in there? Ah.
I've been hiding it from the cats.
Well, it's gonna get all warm and melted. Don't do that.
Okay.
I hear it, and it's gonna pick up crinkly noise in the machine.
All right. So anyhow, I started writing letters to the two Bernhardt boys, and I don't know how Walter got into writing. He wrote to me from school. He was going while we were in college even. He wrote because he was going to one in New Hampshire, Williams College, and I wrote back to him. We wrote quite a few letters back and forth. And I liked him better than I liked the Bernhardt boys. But I do remember this. We were we did go to Cincinnati, and that's when I first met him, after he was older. And those guys were telling jokes. And everybody was laughing, ha ha ha. And then I think it was Walter that said, oh, what was it? It was a candy bar. And he says, it's a candy bar with fluid drive. And X-Lax is what he said, yeah. And I thought that was just horrible. I mean, good God, what a thing. And so I thought, oh, I got to cross him off my list for telling that joke. And then later on, he came, he wrote one time, and he came and we played. He wanted to know if I wanted to play tennis. And I said, sure, you know. Well, my kind of tennis, I didn't know anything about it. It was just batting it back and forth over the thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I was he was very sophisticated. I was very naive. And so he went to that fancy school and was probably on the tennis team for all I know. And then we walked down to the park on West Gate. What's that park that Sandy used to work in? Green Park.
Oh.
And it has tennis courts. And so, but I took Sandy with me wherever I went.
Yeah.
So you couldn't really.
Well, didn't you say sometimes people thought you were like a teenage bride or something? And...
Well, no, later on, who told me that? Maybe it was your dad. He says, oh, some of the kids thought that Sandy was your child because I stayed out of school.
Yeah, let's get to that. Talk about what happened with high school. You went to State High, which used to be a private high school up on Western's campus.
It wasn't private. It was.
I thought you had to pay for it. That was like that's.
Yeah, but it wasn't a public school, but it was. Well, I guess.
It'd be a private school.
But it was run by Western.
Right.
Because they needed people to practice on because they were teaching.
A teaching
teachers.
School, right.
Yeah, they wanted to teach.
So they used it, they ran, basically Western Michigan University ran their own high school.
Right.
So that they could produce better teachers.
Yeah, and have them right there, and then they could critique the students and see how they worked with the kids and so on. And you had.
So it's similar to today's charters, but it wasn't for profit. Whereas today the charter schools have to be underwritten by a university, and they're all made to make money.
Yeah.
And they usually stop at like 5th grade because it gets very expensive to run a high school. You know, but because Western was doing it more to, they weren't charging you guys money, or were they?
Well, they did charge money, but if you were smart, you got a scholarship. I never paid any money.
And when you graduated, were you the valedictorian when you graduated?
No, I was valedictorian from 8th grade when we graduated.
Okay.
I don't think.
Salutatorian, or they call it?
I think so. I don't think I wasn't valedictorian.
Okay.
I think so. Maybe so. I don't know. It wasn't that big
So,
a deal to me.
You dropped out of high school when, essentially? I mean, you stopped going to the public school. You stopped going to State High your senior year?
Well, I'll tell you exactly when I stopped going.
What was that all about? Grogger had.
The middle of the year of 44.
Was that your senior year?
I don't know. No, it wasn't senior.
Junior?
Probably. Junior? Sophomore, maybe. How old was I? I have to think.
But that's where you graduated from anyways? You still got your degree from there?
Oh yeah, I just
Your
stayed
diploma?
out
Oh, you just stayed out?
because my mother was out of it. She was loonier than she couldn't do anything.
And what was that about, you think? Is that postpartum depression, looking back today?
That's mostly what it was.
She had Aunt Sandy and then she just kind of lost her shit?
She didn't want to go to a hospital.
Because Sandy was born in January.
Yeah. And that's when I just stayed home then.
From January to the end of the school year.
Mm-hmm. And did all the work, cooking, washing, sewing, everything there was to do.
Then did you go back to school in the fall?
I think I did, but
Or maybe it was at your senior year, you're not sure.
No, it wasn't senior. I know.
Okay.
I don't know. I have to go back and look at a calendar and figure out what was going on.
Okay.
Because I worked on a school paper.
Editor of the paper, and Dick Moss is your...
Huh?
Wasn't Dick Moss your editor? Or you were the editor and he was the sports guy or something? The guy that used to have the Gazette sports section.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Jack Moss. Jack Moss. He passed away. He's down in Florida. I think he passed away a while ago. So what do you remember about that, about high school? Any stories there you want to mention? Your I know you go to a lot of the
No, but during
alumni reunions.
During the before I get away from just the Duke Street talk, one thing that once we moved to Duke Street, that we went swimming in the summer a lot.
At White's Lake?
At White's Lake. We walked to White's Lake.
So they must have had a public access that doesn't exist then.
That's right. And there was a hill.
I've heard stories that there is a way to get to it. There is a public access, but they've let it get overgrown and you can't find it.
And people would
Nobody
have to,
talks about it and they try to...
No, right. But we were there and a lot
Was the
of
country club there already? Did they already own a bunch of land? Kalamazoo Country Club, did they already exist there? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, because Huey and Paul used to go over there and retrieve
Balls for them?
balls and then and sell them back. They get money for turning in balls. Huey and Paul both. Yeah, but no, that's where I really kind of got into a relationship with your father, because he used to come from where he lived over there.
Off Kilgore and Brownson.
On Kilgore and Brownson. And we would swim together and got to know him, talk to him. But he was in grade school with me when I was in grade school in Southwestern. Even though he was my age, I had skipped grades. And so he was in 6th grade while I was in 8th grade. And I'm just a couple months older.
Yeah, you are 9 months older than Dad.
Huh?
You're only 9 months older than Dad.
Yeah. So,
almost 10 months. Like 9 months and 3 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
Because if it had been November 4th, you guys would be exactly.
Right.
So
but
you
I
were.
was 2 grades ahead of him.
Okay.
But then he told me later that he liked me when the first time he saw me when we moved and I was new to the school.
Oh.
But I didn't know who he was, really. I didn't pay much attention.
Tell you were more like in high school.
Except when I talked to him over at a lake, and then one day he had a car in high school, and so then he would drive me home and drop me off. I have to walk all the way home in the heat. And then one day he took me, he says, "Oh, I want you to meet my mom." And so he took me to his house, and you would have loved her. She was a jewel.
What was Grandma Fran like? Was she outgoing? Was she a talkative person, or quiet or shy?
She was just a sweetheart.
Had she gone to college and stuff, or you know?
I don't know anything about that. Never did get a chance to.
But she had one son, Uncle Bill,
Yeah.
from her first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
She was Catholic. She got divorced.
Yes.
Bill, well, as I turned out later, I talked to some guys at the VFW.
Oh.
Dad always said that Bill was in the Marines. They said, well, he would have been in the Navy if he was an officer, and he was a military doctor. They gave me all the specifics.
He had a presidential commendation for outstanding service during the war.
I'd like to see those. I'd like to find those. I'm gonna see if I can get copies of them. I got some connections. I've seen them once when I was a child, but they used to be in the washroom above the washer and dryer in that little cupboard that slid open, and that's where I had seen them. I don't know if they're still there. But yeah, so Uncle Bill was already grown out of the house because he was quite a bit older than Dad.
Yeah, he was. I think.
But when you met Grandpa Red, was he a pretty quiet guy like he was when I grew up?
Grandpa Red?
Yeah.
No, well.
I mean, he was not a very, like, grandpa-y type, hey, kids, come see me. He was more like, children are to be seen and not don't talk to him much, don't play with him at all.
He,
The only real thing he ever did is he gave us those green, Tony and I each got green cane poles for fishing down at Sackett's Pond that were telescopic.
Yep.
But whenever we'd go to see him, it was like, Dad, go in the basement, stay away from Grandpa and I, we're going to talk.
Yeah.
And we weren't, there was almost zero interaction, never. Whereas your dad was polar opposite. It was like, oh.
Would have talked more. Now, Grandpa Red did come to our house once, and he would have liked to live with us, because he was closing the place in Battle Creek. But and the same thing was with Bill. Bill came once and wanted to live there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was home alone. I wasn't comfortable.
Because you said Uncle Bill always kept his 9mm sidearm after the war with him, and he drank a lot.
He came in, and he had a gun, and he had a quart of
whiskey.
I mean, no, it was
a fifth of whiskey.
Beer, I think it's a big thing, a gallon, whatever they come in. The biggest.
He probably had a fifth of whiskey, but go ahead.
No, it wasn't whiskey. I think it was beer, but maybe he.
Okay.
But anyhow, and then he just sat down at the table with that and the gun, and I had little kids, and I just couldn't say, oh, do you stay with us? Because he mentioned something, oh, you got any empty rooms upstairs or something like that, and I said, oh, no, I can't do that. And the same with Grandpa Red, because Grandpa Red came and he had, don't think he had his cat. I don't know if he brought the cat or not. But at that time, I was very particular about babies and little kids. You might have been a baby at the time. And he said something about moving in or whatever. And then this cat, and he said, and she's got to have certain, whatever they call it, some innards of something repulsive.
Liver or gizzards or something.
Worse than that even. I don't know what it was. And I says, ooh, I couldn't do that. And that night, when I came home, I was somewhere, and I came back, and he had been out, maybe went shopping, and he had it in the refrigerator, but he had opened the package so that I would see it. And I thought, what a mean thing to do.
Yeah.
And I thought, if that's his attitude, I'm not going to encourage your dad to have him stay with us. And I don't think your dad would have wanted him to stay. So.
Well, in going back a little bit, when Aunt Sandy was born, what do you remember about her being born? Because you were quite a bit older by that time.
Yeah.
So your memory of that, you knew that the babies didn't come in a black bag by that time, I would think.
Yeah, but I still didn't know much about the whole deal. Even as old as I was, nobody ever talked to me about sex or anything.
Schools didn't teach it, obviously.
No,
Even in a biology class, they didn't talk about
sex. I thought it had something to do with your bottom parts, and it wasn't, and you wouldn't do it because in all the movies, you know, they would say, oh, they had sex, and then everybody was like this, and so I thought, well, if you're not married, you don't have sex. So, anyhow, what was I going to say about there was something?
Aunt Sandy being born. What you remember about that?
Well,
Gra being pregnant and stuff and all that.
Yeah, all I know is that we were told we were going to have another child, and I knew she was going to go to the hospital, had a baby, and I'm sure I noticed that she was getting fat, but I really I didn't believe that she was there to pick up a baby.
Right.
You know, I knew it was our baby, but I don't know. I'm not even sure of that.
Okay.
And I was about 15 by then. I mean, I was in high school.
Yeah.
But then when she came home, she was such a worrier of germs, for one thing. And she couldn't handle it. So Grandpa and I, my dad and I, we made all the formula. We'd stay at night and boil the Caro syrup in the carnation milk and so much of this and that and sterilize the bottles. And I remember sometimes getting all those bottles sterilized and then dropping one or two on the floor, and then you have to, you got to do it over again. You know, it was a chore.
How long did you do that for? I mean, did you pretty much raise her for the most part, or
Well,
did Gregor ever get her shit back together? And
yeah, it was just when I went back to high school, she had, you know, but I stayed home a lot with her too. No, she was up and down, and I think her dad didn't appreciate her either. He made her come to this country.
right, as you
She
said.
didn't want to come, but she said more than once. He said, "Oh, these last four should never have been born. These last four should never have been born."
Gregor's
Her dad said, and she was the youngest of the girls, and then there were 3 boys.
So you said you met Dad when you were actually like in junior high, pretty much, or grade school at Southwest.
Well,
Elementary.
Southwest grade school. I saw him, but I wasn't even
Right.
talking
No, you're
about
just a little kid.
boys or.
But you knew him since that age, since.
Yeah, I knew him, and he
That-
told me. He said, when you
Right.
showed up on the playground, I knew you were. I knew who you were, or something like that. So,
When Grandma Fran, how long did you know her before you and Dad, like she died before you were married?
yeah, she died in.
You guys were married in August. She
She
died
died in December, I think.
before you got married. But she already knew you guys were getting married? Had Dad already proposed?
Well.
Did Dad ever do like a big proposal, like engagement ring and all that?
No. Well, yeah, I had an engagement ring and then I gave it back to him.
How'd that happen? Tell us about that story.
No.
Well, hell yeah!
Well, yeah, I will, but I can't remember. He would bring me flowers on Easter and different holidays and stuff, come to knocking at the door and deliver them. And he would say, well, my mom said this is what you would like. It was always my mom, so I knew his mother.
So he was probably asking, you think he was asking his mom, what should I get her, or what should I?
Yeah, and he was very.
Because he was basically an only child.
Yes.
Dad didn't grow up with Uncle Bill in the house, or
no,
his half-brother Bill had the same mom.
Here's the thing. She married this guy. He had a motorcycle, and she used to ride a motorcycle with us.
Grandma Fran did?
Yes, she did. And you wouldn't believe it to look at her.
Like, did she drive it, or did she just ride on the back?
Well, I don't know. I think
probably rode it.
on the back of it, probably. But she was a regular.
And that was a Van Dyke?
But then he was not nice to Billy at all.
Was that her husband?
That was her husband.
Because it was Bill Van Dyke, is that right?
No.
Am I getting it mixed up with Grandma Ann?
Well, he had
Grandma Ann's first husband was a Van Dyke.
Yeah.
And her son was a Bill Van Dyke who worked for Pepsi.
I don't know that.
But Grandma Fran's first husband, do you know what his name, what Uncle Bill's name was before he became a VerHey?
Nothing about that.
Because Grandpa Red adopted him, and then he became William VerHey.
Right.
But his birth record wouldn't show that. It would show a different name.
Yeah, I know, but I don't.
But his service record in the military was VerHey.
Yeah, I know.
So, okay.
So, no. He was sent to Barber Hall, which was a Catholic.
Oh, where was that at? In
Elm
Kalamazoo?
Creek, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think that's where.
Barber Hall?
Barber Hall, and he lived there, and so on. And he'd come home maybe, I don't know, I didn't go into the details of it, but what was it? And I don't know if it was for kids that couldn't be managed, or if Grandpa Red just didn't want him there, or if she thought it would be good because it was Catholic.
Yeah.
So we don't know that. I always got the feeling that your dad was compared to Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Bill was not the real son.
He set the bar pretty damn high.
Grandpa Red
Liked him.
kept bragging about him all the time.
Because he was a Marine and he was a doctor and he was a psychiatrist and
Yeah,
he was.
and all that, and he was married to Josephine.
Mm-hmm.
They had no children. And your dad said then after Grandpa Red died, then they got a lot of stuff out of the house, dear. They took stuff, but, you know, we don't know what. I didn't.
Well, by the time Grandpa Red died, Uncle Bill was long dead.
Yeah.
Because I never knew Uncle Bill. He died before I was born, I think. I'd have to look up what year he died.
Uncle Bill died.
Oh, yeah, Dad's brother.
Yeah. No, but they.
And that's a whole nother
but
mystery
they
investigation.
lived with Grandpa Red for a while.
Okay.
They did.
And Josephine was alive when Grandpa Red died?
Yeah, she might be alive now.
Oh, no shit. Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Never heard any more from her at all. She was always friendly to me, but she was a nurse, he was a doctor. But Bill was a hard person to, and then he got mixed up with drugs when he was working in Missouri or somewhere. So you don't know. Dad said that he he was taking some pills and he came up under like
A cabinet.
the sinks, you know how they are. That
Right. He'd already been drinking the night before, Dad said.
He hit his head, and but he might have overdosed.
Dad said they figured, and this is where I'm going to pull. Eventually, I'm going to investigate and get his autopsy results.
Oh.
I'm going to look it up. Well, they said that there's